Hi, welcome to the bathtub. See me, the old masturbator, and the old masturbator's dog, Lucky the Wonder Dog. And here we are. Oh my gosh, I can't put you up here because you'll attack me. I can't put you up here. I can't put you up here. You have to stay over there. Sorry. You get too excited and then you attack me. Lucky wants to get over my lap, but if I pick her up, she'll attack me. She's doing better. She's doing better. Dodo just went through molting, and now she's back making a huge amount of noise. I've been away. We were up in San Francisco, my wife and I. We had a good time. We're back. I've been falling behind in these pointless exercises in bathing. I'm a masturbator. Many of you know this, and many of you think yourselves as masturbators, and I consider you all. I think we're all masturbators. I can't presume to be a bigger masturbator than the rest of you. I think we're all in it together. So I should probably change my intro. This episode is brought to you by 3 paragraphs in the life of Bob Johnson. You know, if it's not 3 paragraphs, it's not Bob Johnson. That's the rule of thumb here. And Bob is a character I've been writing about for many years now. And the 3 paragraph stories, I'll put a link to it below. I stopped doing them when I'm on holiday, and when I come back, I do a 3 paragraph story every day, just so I don't have to read the newspaper. That's all the purpose of what these stupid stories are, and they make me laugh. And if they make you laugh, I hope there's nothing wrong with you. This is one of our what do we call this show? Between my 2 crazy pets. Should I let Dodo out? Lucky's gone in the other room. Oh, Lucky, you're sitting in the hall. Okay, I won't close the door on you. They're very jealous of each other. Lucky's doing better. I literally have myself boarded off here because if she gets under my feet and I move and she gets comfortable, she fixates on me, and then when I move, she attacks me. So that's my wife and I. I don't know what the hell we're doing, but we're doing our best for this crazy dog. What was I going to talk about? 3 paragraphs in the life of Bob Johnson. This episode, this is one of our top. It's not a topic; it's a theme show. We call it. What do we call it? It's a science fiction, vintage science fiction paperback hodgepodge. It's a hodgepodge. It's not a roundabout. Don't get them confused. I'm gonna do these fairly quick because I'm falling behind, and you don't want to fall behind when there's shows about nothing. This is the Seinfeld show of booktubing. It's about nothing except what I've been reading, and I did 3 science fiction paperbacks from my collection of old vintage paperbacks. I can't read modern science fiction unless it's a vintage old paperback. I don't enjoy them as much. We're becoming big. I always liked Jack Vance, but in my senior years, you never go wrong if you pick up a Jack Vance book. Even the old ones. I've been reading the really old ones. These are from like the 50s. He wrote a bunch of stories in the 40s and 50s. He seemed to write a lot of stories and books. And this is a bunch of stories about a character named Magnus Ridolph. And this is the Daw paperback. I think it was also an Ace paperback, but I like it when I can get the Daw paperbacks. I get a kick out of these. Jack Vance, he wrote science fiction, weird fantasy, very quickly, always imaginative. You can almost never put the stories down. They're just so easygoing. He's kind of, I'm recognizing a lot of Sheckley in him. I can see a lot of Sheckley I can see a lot of Jack Vance in Sheckley, I think, because Vance came earlier. Some of the comedy and the way of telling the stories and the zipping along of the narrative. This is a guy who travels around the galaxy, just getting involved in weird problems and disputes and trying to help different cultures. And he studies a lot of alien cultures. And I guess it's one of the first science fiction books I can think of. I'm sure there were others that haven't come to my mind at the moment. James Schmitz, maybe a bit of. Who didn't go to understand alien cultures just to kill them or to fight the aliens. He's trying to understand all the alien cultures, and he tries to solve problems for all these different people. And it's about 8 or 10 stories. Each one is wildly different from the other one. They were written back in the 40s and 50s, and this is the mineral water. It's the summer, so what do we have to do? The old narrator either has to blow his nose. Always try to blow my nose when I do this show. So I can't talk up Jack Vance enough. I'm just going to read one quick passage this is where I think he's trying to solve a murder. And I can't remember exactly because the stories are all so different. And I read them about 3 weeks ago and I completely forgot them. But he's trying to find out why somebody was murdered. And he comes to this planet that's filled with all these different alien cultures. And he spends 2 hours researching all of the different cultures. He goes in the library. He says, instead of just going around interviewing people and jumping to conclusions about who the murderer is, he goes and he learns about the cultures and he solves the crime by understanding these different alien cultures. Here's a quick example. He says they're talking about whether this person who's dead was sacrificed or murdered, and Magnus Ridolph says, and there's a dispute, an argument, and Ridolph says, "May I interrupt? I think it may save time for everyone. As you know, Mr. Pascoglu, I spent a certain period this morning in research. In order for the rite to be valid, the rite of a sacrifice, I chanced on a description of the Cambian sacrificial rites. In order for the rite to be valid, the victim must kneel, bow his head forward. 2 skewers are driven into his ears, and the victim is left in this position, kneeling face down in a state of ritual composure. Bonfils were sprawled without any regard for any sort of decency. I suggest that Fodor Impliega and Fodor Banzoso are guiltless, at least, of this particular crime, because they could not have sacrificed him because they did such a bad job." "True, true," said Fodor Impliega. "Never would we leave a corpse in such disorder." So all these different cultural reasons why they can't be the murderers and how he solves the murder is very fun. You can't do wrong. Jack Vance. I also went on to this cool. I've had this since it probably came out. Imperial Earth, Arthur C. Clarke. You know we're big Arthur C. Clarke fans here. Lucky, please don't bark. Arthur C. Clarke fans here. Yeah, this is another thing. We were gone for 3 days, and so she had other people, and she doesn't eat when we're gone. And ever since she's come back, she's constantly shouting she wants to be fed, I think. We've been feeding her all day. This is cool, isn't it? Oh, my God. It's just deadly. All right, I'm going to let Dodo out, Lucky. I'm letting Dodo out. No, and close the door so I don't have to listen to your bark. Okay? That's okay. All right, everybody. Where do you get this in booktubing? Come on, Dodo. Come say hi to everybody. Everybody's been asking about you. Huh? Come on. Get on my shoulder. Everybody's been asking about how Dodo's doing, and there she is. Okay. Anyway, that was Imperial Earth. It's kind of I don't know. I guess you'd almost call it not a dystopia. It's a kind of utopian novel. It's about how the future is, how man has gone on. Human beings have moved on to Titan. Is it around Saturn? Is it Saturn's moon or Jupiter? Who cares? It's one of those places, and they've had a civilization there. And one guy who's a clone of one of the big shots on Titan goes back to Earth. For some reason, it's a birthday or something, but it's really an excuse to go through these different cultures and see how the future has kind of worked out. It's a book. It's not dystopian. It's basically about how people have changed and things have changed radically, and we hear all these different things about how culture has changed and what's good about it, and how science has moved on. And there's problems, but it's basically working out, I think, okay. That's how I got it. I got about 2/3 of the way through it. I liked lots of it, and I kind of got bored after a while. It's very rare that I get bored by an Arthur C. Clarke book, but it's kind of like a fairly intelligent man in his 50s, 60s, kind of reflecting on certain ideas about how cultures and science might make the universe a little better place. Finally, We Can Build You. We've been trying to read some Philip K. Dick. This is a book I've had, again, since it came out. I read We Can Build You. It was originally called A. Lincoln Simulacrum, and it was published in either Fantastic or Amazing Stories when Ted White was kind of a cool editor. When I was a teenager, he was a cool editor, and he actually, like many of these editors, used to write me nice little notes about how crappy my stories were. And this was a book that I think he wrote it in the 60s. As I recall, he wrote it in the 60s. He couldn't find a publisher for it. It sat around for a while, and then Ted White published it at Amazing, and then later it came out at Daw as We Can Build You. It's a pretty good Philip K. Dick novel, though like many Philip K. Dick novels, I'm always people get mad at me for saying this. I like his novels the first half, and I get a little bored near the end. It's a little bit less science fictiony and a little bit more sort of apocryphal, or what do I call it? Almost a metaphor for culture and people's sense of disconnection from one another. And the narrator of it is a man who works for a company that makes organs, or that you think are organs, but they're actually mood-creating organs. So if you play these organs in a correct way, you can change people's moods. I think that's the gimmick. And his company starts to build robots, Civil War robots, for some reason. And one of the robots they create is Abe Lincoln, who becomes a character in it. And it's about his relationship with a young girl. There's a lot of Philip K. Dick novels about guys, fairly older guys with pretty young girls. And the first half of the book's quite interesting because the narrator, it's not a big surprise. Early in the book, the narrator goes to a psychiatrist and says, I got to confess something. I have a real serious problem. I'm a robot. And he goes, and it's sort of an interesting idea that this guy among the robots thinks he's a robot. It's a little bit. It reminds you quite a bit of his non-science fiction books in a way, about the relationships between these guys, men and women in their jobs. About halfway through the book, I got a little bored, and I read it all the way through, but I did enjoy it. It did remind me one thing I found very interesting reading Philip K. Dick and Jack Vance. They're two writers who actually must have worked a lot of crappy jobs. They both know. I mean, Vance is really good at describing weird manual labor jobs on Betelgeuse or some other planet, and Philip K. Dick obviously did all sorts of horrible jobs working in companies and sales forces as a salesman and telephone sales, and all that stuff. So anyway, that's the part I thought was kind of interesting. Should I read a little passage? Our friend James always got me to do this, and I always forget to do it. Should I read just a little quick passage? Here it is. Page 48, I'm going to read a couple paragraphs. After having told Dr. Horstowski that I was a simulacrum, I could not get the idea out of my mind. Once there had been a real Louis Rosen. His name is Louis Rosen. But now he was gone, and I stood in his spot, fooling almost everyone, including myself. This idea persisted for the next week, growing a little dimmer each day, but not quite fading out. And yet, on another level, I knew it was a preposterous idea, just a lot of drivel I had come up with because of my resentment toward Dr. Horstowski. And that's the first half of the book is quite interesting with all that stuff happening. Anyway, that's it. I hope I didn't say anything useful. I enjoyed my favorite easily was this book. It was easily my favorite. It was not my favorite Philip K. Dick, but I thought I'm glad I read it. And then I think this is actually better than I thought. It's just I'm not really into that idea of traveling through the future society and learning what works and what doesn't. It doesn't narratively get me that hooked. But anyway, that's it. And again, it's brought to you by Bob Johnson. If it's not 3 paragraphs, it's not Bob Johnson. And I'm going to put a link to Bob below so you can go check out it's on Substack. We only take one type of subscription, which is free. We will not charge people to read this ridiculous junk. It is fun junk, and you shouldn't have to pay for junk this fun. It's really fun, but it's totally useless. I can't charge you for that. Anyway, you can find it free on my Substack page. Take care. More soon.